I'm Shelton Wilder, and welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where each episode follows an entrepreneur's journey into the transformative power of that light bulb moment where everything clicks. I call that the click. Those pivotal points that redefine our futures, illuminate paths to success, and even change the world. Now let's get wilder. Hi friends, welcome back to Wilder Possibilities Podcast. I have my friend, Dr. Rikki Mullen here, and she is amazing. She has so many things to tell us and teach us. And tell me all about I just want you to give me the whole rundown of everything and what you're doing now and how you are Dr. Rikki now.
Yes. So it's a long story.
It's a long story, but I want to hear the whole story.
So just a quick background is that I went from being a medical physician with a focus in women's health to kind of, leaving that career behind, although I still do some medicine, and becoming a sex, intimacy, and relationship coach. And
that's a big shift.
Yeah, it is a big shift. It was a big shift, and it is so aligned and feels so purposeful and incredible. And I absolutely love the work that I'm doing. And I'm happy to share with you how I got there, because it's kind of like when I first told people I was doing this, they were like, "What? Are you sure?"
Well, even Alana was like, "Oh, my friend's really shifting it up, changing. It's like." It's amazing, though.
Yeah. So I was living my life as a medical physician, 2 beautiful children, married, living in, a beautiful neighborhood in the Palisades.
Yeah.
And I felt exhausted and overwhelmed every single day of my life. And I couldn't quite figure it out because I was like, I have everything.
Everything. Because you're from Texas, right?
Yeah.
And then moved out to LA when?
I moved out to LA in 2002.
Okay.
Yep.
To go to USC?
To go to USC.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Exactly. Yep. I went to USC for med school.
Okay, the whole
time.
For
residency.
And where for residency?
Cedars-Sinai.
Oh, wow.
So always in LA. And since I left Texas. And I was like, I have the American dream. Like everything I was told would make me happy. I had it.
Yeah.
Everything society told me, my parents told me. And I was like, why am I exhausted every single day of my life?
Wow. And you had a boy and a girl, the whole thing.
Everything.
Beautiful home.
Picture perfect life. And then I was one of the first to get my COVID vaccine because
you were a doctor?
Back then, doctors were the first to get it, like before anybody in the public could get it. And we were required to get it, and I went in to get it. And so they didn't really know like the side effects of it yet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I was one of the first people then to have this side effect of lymphadenopathy, which is an enlarged lymph node that didn't go away in my left armpit, in my left axilla. And being a medical physician, especially with a focus in women's health, I was like, I hope it's not breast cancer, because when you have an enlarged lymph node, it could be breast cancer.
Wow.
So I went to a breast surgeon, Heather Richardson in Beverly Hills, who had helped me when I was pregnant with my children, and I had some lactation stuff going on. And she did an ultrasound, and she goes, "Oh, it's just looks like a reactive lymph node, nothing to be worried about."
Wow.
She goes, "Let me look at that. Let me do a full view with the ultrasound." I said, "Okay." So she looks at the right side, and she says, and my lymph node was on the left, but she looks at the right side. She goes, "Oh, you have a mass there." And I was like, okay.
In your breast or under?
In my breast.
Oh, wow.
So she's like, you have to come back in 6 months. 6 months goes by, a year goes by, and I was like, all right. I wasn't going to go back because I was like, I'm fine. I'm healthy. I feel great. And I'm like, too busy to go to the doctor, right? We've all been there.
Okay. So was this like in 2020 when this
So now this is September 2021, and I wasn't going to go back. But so it was in 2020, and now we're a year later.
Yeah,
so now we're September 2021, and in 1 week I diagnosed 2 young women with no family history of breast cancer with breast cancer, and I was like, this is just a lot. And it feels like a sign that I should at least be checked. Like I have to be responsible to my children, to my health, and just be like be in charge. You know, I'm counseling patients every day, and yet I'm not going to
Oh my God,
take care of myself.
That's like hairdressers that have like bad hair.
Exactly.
Or something like you're like doctor working for others, but not checking on yourself.
Exactly.
Don't they say that doctors are the worst patients?
Exactly. It's so true. So I went back in to see Heather, and I remember I took my son with me. Because I had picked him up from school. He actually documented. He wants to be a documentary film. He wants to be like a filmmaker. Period, playwright, like all the things.
Yeah.
So he makes a documentary of the whole experience.
And isn't he like 4 or 5?
Yeah, he's 4. He's 4 at the time.
I love him. That's so cool.
He is an incredible, incredible kid. So Heather looks at it. She goes, "Come back again in 6 months." I go, "I can't, Heather." I said, "You know what? I know it's going to be fibroadenoma, which is a total benign lesion. So I said, why don't you just do a biopsy right here in the office, and we'll see it's nothing, and then I can move on with my life.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I can return when I'm 40. At the time I was 37. I can return when I'm 40 for regular checks, right? And just like everybody else, because I know it's nothing." She takes a biopsy. She calls me 2 days later. She says, "Rikki, I have good news and bad news." And I was like, okay. And mind you, so I'm going on 2 years of feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, fatigued, right? And this is like at the end of that 2-year period. I'd also been on antidepressants to get through my life with a smile on my face. It totally numbed me out. I was not in a good place, right? So this ended up being one of the greatest gifts for my life. And I have a lot of gratitude for it. So she says to me, the good news is it's not cancer. The bad news is it shows what's called part of it's a papillary lesion. So we're seeing part of a papillary lesion, and there's a 5 to 20% chance it could be cancer, and it has to come out immediately. And I said to her, I was like, okay, yeah, can we do it in 6 months? And she's like, absolutely not.
No, immediately, And it was in the side of your breast.
It was inside the breast. So then I called. I had worked with the top hormone specialist at Cedars-Sinai, Cassandra Schufelt. She's no longer there. She's the head of the North American Menopause Society. I called her up. I was like, "Hey, this is going on with me. What do I do?" She goes, "I'm getting you in with the very top breast surgeon immediately, right away." And within 3 days, I was sitting in Catherine Ding's office at Cedars-Sinai.
Wow.
And she confirms it absolutely has to come out. This is not something you can wait on.
Oh, wow. This is happening now. I did not know any of this. Yeah. I did not know any of this happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a week later, I'm in the OR. And actually a week later, I'm going in for surgery. And right before I go in for surgery, I don't know if it was me trying to distract or if it was me starting to wake up to the misery I was in. But I looked at LinkedIn and I was like, I've got to have a greater purpose in this world. I can't just be speaking to one person in an exam room at a time. I feel like I'm meant to do something bigger.
Wow.
And I turned in my resume for a position as the CEO of a women's health company startup.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I went in for my surgery. And I came out of surgery and I've been waiting to find out if I have cancer. And when I went in for surgery, it was almost, I always say it was like angels came to me when I was under anesthesia, and they were like, you got to start clearing all the things that are not serving you. Just clear your life.
Wow.
And so I came out, and my first thought when I came out of surgery was, I hope it's not cancer. And once I knew it wasn't cancer, my very first thought was, this cannot be my life.
Wow.
This can't be my life. And some of the thoughts that came to me was, if I have cancer, I'd rather be alone than in this relationship that I'm in.
Oh, wow. So
this 15 years.
Oh, wait, did you guys meet in college?
Yeah, we met in college. Yeah.
Wow.
15 years with I was 15 years with my husband, 2 beautiful children, perfect life on the outside, completely miserable, disconnected on the inside. We had no relationship. We were leading parallel lives, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this cannot be I can't be in this relationship the way that it is. It has to shift. I was like, second of all, my job I'm miserable in. The way that I was being treated as a physician was with very little respect and very much being plugged into a system that wants physicians to work with an algorithm that completely depersonalizes medicine. So
wow.
I was like, I can't, like the 15-minute visits, the hitting the check marks, like it felt like it was killing me.
Wow.
The very first thing I did was I left my marriage. I went to my then husband. I said, I want to go to therapy. And I actually scheduled us a therapy appointment. And Monday at 5 p.m., got a nanny for the kids. I said to him, there's absolutely nothing that can't wait until Tuesday. I now know that what I had was not cancer. It was just a high-risk lesion. Okay. So cancer-free, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got
Wake
that
up
out.
Call. Clear the things that aren't serving me, or else I'm going to, like the messages, or else you'll be sick. And if you're not sick, you're at least going to be numb the rest of your life.
It's like okay, so do you believe, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you believe that the lesion came from
Yes.
From
the stress of my life.
Okay, from the stress of your life. You don't think it came from the vaccine?
Oh, no. Completely unrelated to the vaccine.
Okay, unrelated to the vaccine, you think it came from the...
Yeah, I think
the
stress.
I
was living in a very high stress situation, trying to numb out, trying to figure out how to be happy in this life with all the things I was told should make me happy. And I really think that the stress and my like elevated cortisol levels and all that was taking an impact on my health, and it led to this...
It gave you
essentially high-risk lesion that could have turned into cancer, and I was blessed to wake up to like, I don't need to be miserable anymore.
No. And then, because do you feel that you can make yourself sick from resentments?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From resentment, from stress, absolutely. It holds a big... And holding on to like unresolved trauma.
Yes.
You know, there's Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score is a great book that talks about that. So absolutely.
Yeah.
There's, childhood trauma linked to rheumatoid arthritis. There's all sorts of stuff out there on that. So I
told you went
show up. I have the nanny and everything for the kids. Show up to therapy. It's 5 p.m. Text from my ex-husband. Hey, I'm not going to come, but you talk to the therapist and let me know how it goes. So I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for the easy out, right? Like it was like handing me a ticket to go.
Okay. You were like, okay.
So, So I basically was like, all right, I can't stay in this relationship anymore. And with a 2-year-old and 5-year-old, went through divorce, which I always say you have to be pretty miserable to be a single mom with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old to like choose that.
Yeah.
And it was also the biggest and greatest blessing for all of us.
Wow.
And we're all happy now. Like my ex-husband is so happy, and he's getting remarried, and I love his soon-to-be wife.
Oh,
they
wow.
get married next month. Yeah.
You guys are all close?
In 2 weeks they get married, actually. Yeah. We're super close. I mean, like to the point that, I have horses, and I was going to a school event and I had to feed the horses on my way out. And I was like, I swear I've got hay all over me. And then I show up and she walks in and I was like, hey, do you mind just like taking like a look and making sure I'm not covered in hay? And we're sitting there like giggling like best friends, and she's pulling the hay out of my hair and off my clothes. I was like, I love you.
Yeah, that is, wow.
And I really do. I love her because she's wonderful to our children, and she's wonderful to my ex-husband. And, they're happy.
They're a good match.
It's just, we were not meant to be together forever. We were meant to bring our 2 children into this world and to then go on our own paths.
Yeah.
And so anyways, the other thing that happened was I didn't end up moving forward with that job. I made it through 3 rounds of interviews.
Oh, wow. Okay, to be the CEO of that. Okay.
Yeah.
That women's, yeah.
I went through 3 rounds, and then I was like, I can't actually do this because I'm going to be like taking care of myself right now and tending to my children.
Yeah.
I then left my job.
Okay.
So after that, I was like, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to start taking care of myself. So left the husband, left the job, still at the house. That came later. You helped me with that one. Thank you very much.
We did.
Amazing job. I've never worked with anyone better. Just saying.
Thank you.
Literally
Love
the
you.
best. Both to sell and buy my house.
Oh my gosh.
Putting in that
we
plug.
love you. And Alana.
And Alana,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
she's amazing.
The two of you, dream team.
Love her.
Dream team.
Wow, you guys are amazing. So, okay, so then you're in the house.
Yeah. So then what happens is I'm still on this, okay, I've cleared the job, I've cleared the relationship that wasn't working, but what is like my purpose? And so I was like, I'm going to just take some time to heal first, and then I'll get to that part, right? Yeah. And so what I did was I had been in a sexless marriage.
Okay.
So there was like literally sexless.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I didn't touch my own body. So I had completely shut down my sexuality in my marriage and had no sort of physical intimacy, even emotional intimacy. And I had become this woman that was kind of living on the surface, volunteering in the community, like smiling through everything, even though I wasn't feeling great. And so when I came out of my marriage and left my job, I decided I was going to take some time to heal. And I decided that it was time to take my pleasure into my own hands and learn to create the best love story of my life with myself, including the best sex of my life with myself. And only after I cultivated that within would I even open to like the opportunity for anyone else to experience that with me.
Yeah.
And
that's okay. How did you
so I'm
do that?
Super, yeah. So I'm super type A, by the way. So I go in like head first. Like when I'm putting
you go for
motivated.
it. Yeah. She goes all like very, very bright. You are one of the smartest people I know. You just go for it. Yeah.
So the first thing I did was this is interesting. I'm like, the woman that I was this like medical physician, goody two shoes, follow all the rules, people pleaser. But I was at this point where in my life, when I came out of all of it, where I was like, I'm done. And I really wanted to heal. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to stop being the victim. I'm going to stop.
Oh, yeah. No,
and I'm going to start
work.
creating this love story. But in order to do that, I've got to understand on a deeper level, like why I ended up in a position like that and why I was so miserable.
Okay. Yeah. Why were you so miserable? So that's what you were finding out.
Oh, all of a sudden,
yeah,
this woman who's like never touched psychedelics in my life, I was like, I got to go to Costa Rica and sit in 4 ayahuasca ceremonies with like some shamans I don't know.
You're like, we're just going to try this.
In a jungle, yeah.
Oh my God. Wait, you did 4 times?
4, yeah, over 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And you have to understand, I was like goody two shoes, rules follower, never touched psychedelics. And like a magnet was like pulling me to it. I was so deeply called to do this.
Whoa.
So I called my ex-husband and I was like, hey, I need you to take the kids for 10 days so I can go to Costa Rica to heal.
And then was he like, okay.
He's so kind. He's like so wonderful. He's like, sure, whatever you need.
Oh
I didn't tell him.
This guy.
He's wonderful. Like on the flip side of the divorce, he's like the greatest like co-parent in the world.
Oh wow.
We're
That's
so much
beautiful.
In our happiness we like get along way better than we ever did.
Wow.
So he's like, no problem at all, takes the kids for me. I go to Costa Rica, and when I'm out in Costa Rica, I receive like from the medicine a deep healing and a deep understanding of my life.
Wow.
And when I came home, I officially quit. So I had put my job kind of on hold.
Okay.
I hadn't actually officially quit. Yeah. And in fact, I had gotten a new job that paid way better. That was like my dream job. And I was supposed to start when I got back from Costa Rica. So actually, I guess I had already quit my current job because I had accepted the other one. And I called them up and I said, I can't take it. Actually, I can't start. So I recognized that like I couldn't keep doing the traditional medicine work that I was doing.
Oh, wow.
So I said no to that job. And then a week later, was sitting under the stars in Jackson Hole with 3 of my girlfriends. And they were like, we were just, talking like girls do. And I can't stop talking about sex. Because now at this point, I'm on my sexual journey. I'm like, I'm pouring into my sexuality. I'm talking about how much I love sex. I'm self-pleasuring. I am like on my journey. And one of my friends looks at me and goes, I think you should be a sex therapist. And right when she said it, this like meteor shower came overhead, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
Oh, you're like, that's the
That's
click.
it.
Is that the click?
That was the click. That was the click.
That's the click.
She's like, you love talking about sex?
Not the click, the click.
You're not the click, the click.
No, that's amazing. That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
That was a moment where I was like, I'm going to dedicate my life to this. And so at first I thought maybe I'll go the therapy route. And then I learned all about coaching.
Oh, yeah.
And that there are all these coaches now, and that's a whole industry.
Oh, it's a huge industry. Yeah.
And so I took 2 coaching certifications in sex and intimacy.
Oh, okay. They have that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, specifically on that.
Because of course you would go find whatever that was out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're type A.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
were like,
I was like, I'm finding it all. I'm finding everything, and I'm doing it all.
No.
Reading all the books, doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it that helped me dive more deeply into my understanding of my intimacy stuff, and also helped me understand like a bunch of other people in this world, and so that I can be of service. And so it became my passion to do this work, because being so disconnected from my sexuality and being so disconnected in my marriage also, and to my partner, like to my ex-partner, was one of the most painful experiences that I didn't know how to speak about or share with anyone. And I wanted to give a voice to people to know that they're not alone, and also to normalize sex and sexuality, and to give a space for people to start opening up and speaking about it in a really positive way. And so that was, that's what led me to that. And since then, I've done a sex therapy certificate program as well. I've thrown myself like fully into it.
Full in, yeah. And you talk about it. You're out there.
Yeah,
Dr.
I'm
Rikki.
out there. I've got my Instagram.
Yeah.
Dr. Rikki Mullen.
Yeah.
And I've got, I love sharing educational videos. I wrote an ebook that is... It's called, I have it here. I'll just
show it.
It's called The Intimacy Trust Fund. So it's 7 keys to investing in your love. It's so good, and it's free. It's like my gift to anybody who wants it.
Oh, my gosh.
You just have to go to my website.
That's amazing.
drrikkimullen.com. And it's so good. It's got lots of good stuff in there, and it's only 40 pages, so it's a great read.
Great read, yeah.
You and your partner, or just you on your own.
Do you think that that's the way to do it? It's with the partner that you read together?
That one is good to read with a partner. However, I also work with a lot of people who are single and dating and looking to cultivate like that same like deep love and deep self-worth.
Oh, wow.
And
before they find the partner.
Yeah, with an intention of calling in the one.
Oh,
right?
calling in the one, but then feeling good about yourself first.
Exactly. So that always comes first. And so this book, I think, can also be a really good guide for that, to start cultivating those self-love skills.
And so how do you work with people? Do you do like coaching is like with couples or one-on-one or?
Yeah. So I work with couples and I work with individuals. And most of I've got clients all over the world. So some of them are on Zoom. Yeah. And then I have a couple that do like to come in person. Yeah. And if they're like vetted out and everybody's comfortable with the situation, we work in person, you know, because I do it out of my home. Yeah. And, but I have a home office there that we work out of. Yeah. And, and it's really, so it starts off with, what is it? Like, why are you coming to me? And some of the most common reasons are desire mismatch, like to reconnect with my sexuality, calling in the one, like I said, like, dating, calling in the one, transition. So people who are going through divorce or trying to stay, even, job, some people are coming in with job transitions. And moving. I've had some people that come to me just because they're moving, but having that solid foundation in their self-intimacy really helps with the transitions. And so those are kind of the main things that I work on. Couples come to me for, communication issues, healing after ruptured trust, desire mismatch.
Ruptured trust.
Ruptured trust, yeah. Desire
there's
mismatch.
There's a name for it. Ruptured trust.
Ruptured trust.
I've never heard that, but that. Yeah.
And you know what? I like ruptured trust because it's not blaming, right? Versus if you use things like cheating, did this, did that. It can be really shaming and blaming. Oh wow. And I don't know if you're familiar with the IFS work. internal family systems, Dick Schwartz.
Oh, no.
But so he has this book that's called No Bad Parts. And that's the truth. None of us are bad. We just all have parts, and sometimes we become blended with parts, and those parts can overtake sometimes, especially if we're not tending to them, and lead to behaviors that are destructive, right? And so there can be a lot of healing after ruptured trust. And when we use that word ruptured trust, we can remove the shame so that the healing can really happen.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And then desire mismatch is always a fun one. Like, I love having couples.
What's that mean?
Yeah, it's like couples that come to me.
Yeah.
And usually it's desire. I mean, I've had people come to me with like sexless marriage, but it's usually desire mismatch because somebody wants the sex, right? Usually.
Yeah.
And somebody then doesn't. So that would be a desire mismatch.
Oh, got it.
So it's figuring out, why don't you want this sex? What is the sex like that you don't want? And if you could have the sex that you wanted, what would that look like? And it's figuring out, why is there that discrepancy? Or is there deeper like subconscious block, and bringing that into awareness?
Yeah.
So they can start working through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of different things that people come for.
Absolutely.
And then is it like on Zoom, and then you're like two together? Or?
Yeah, it's on Zoom, and I love it. Like, I'll have couples that actually come to me and they're like, we're going to divorce if we can't figure this out. And 3 months later, they're like, we're having the best sex of our lives. Like, thank you so much.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. And like, even if like, let's say you're like, I don't have the time, or I can't work with Dr. Rikki, go to my Instagram, because I also have a lot of couples that come to me and they're like, even like the moms at the school, they'll come to me and they'll be like, oh my gosh, my sex life has totally changed because I watch your Instagram.
Oh, that's so good.
They're like,
no, you
so
really
good.
do. You like really put it out there.
Yeah, and a lot of education, a lot of normalizing. So, I love to educate, I love to share, I love to empower and share research-based info and different practices.
No, you research this.
Yeah.
You're not just like, oh, maybe this might work.
No, it's all like grounded in research and my training, and sometimes in personal experience, right? And from my clients' experiences as well.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing what works.
And so do you feel like that was the click that was in Jackson Hole with your friends, but then really, how are you going into like growing this? And is it been through social media a lot, do you feel like? Or?
Yeah. So it's interesting. The company launched in August of 2023. Yeah. August of 23. A year
so that's
ago.
like a year ago.
A little
over a year ago.
August of 23. It was originally called Gush with Rikki, because I imagined I'd have like a show on Netflix talking about sex. And that's still a dream of mine.
Yeah, I remember when it was called that.
Yeah. And then I changed it to just Dr. Rikki Mullen, because I felt like, well, with the coaching work, it's really, well, sure, we're gushing, we're talking. Gush is a play on squirting, which is
there's
really
a lot of
fun.
plays on, yeah.
But it felt more like for a talk show or a podcast, so I changed the name just to Dr. Rikki Mullen. And then mostly I get my clients through things like this, like speaking engagements, podcasts.
Yeah.
The other way is definitely Instagram. I get a lot through Instagram.
Wow. People find you.
Yeah, people find me, and they're excited by the content, and they connect that way. And then also a lot through physician referrals. So being in that world before, I have a lot of physicians that are referring clients to me, because there's kind of a gap in this area. There isn't a lot of sex therapists and coaches, and it's not something that people are really talking about a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're just normalizing it.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to say, because you asked how I work with my clients, oftentimes what ends up coming out is that the reason, and it's usually subconscious, so it's like people are not aware of this when they come to me, but there's something deeper that's causing the body to close. And so it's about really working on that emotional intimacy and that trust so that the physical intimacy can open.
Yeah. And then that's with the clients together.
Yeah, that's with clients together, but even clients on their own, where they'll come to me, and because sometimes I'll have somebody who, like the one who's less desiring will come to me, and usually it's a woman, and she'll say to me like, I'm so closed and I want to open because I want to have like an incredible sex life with my husband. And when we do the deeper work, we discover, well, there's a reason you're not opening, and how do we work on that, right? And then it's like, sometimes they have to do work together, and sometimes they both have to do work individually, right, to get there.
Yeah.
And it's about empowering. So when the couples come to me together, we can work on it together. We can work on the communication skills. When I'm just with one, it's really about deepening the trust of self.
Yeah. Okay,
so
got
that
it.
there can be more openness and a better ability to like set boundaries and communicate, so that there is more safety in the relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're really helping a lot of people.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that.
It's a lot of fun, yeah. And I love educating, so I want to do more of that.
I know you have your little.
Yeah, I have my
Show your little puppets.
All right, so yeah, I think I'm going to eventually start a YouTube channel to educate, just because I love sharing all sorts of information about the human body, about anatomy.
You put it out there. It's so good.
So I'm wondering, what would you want to be educated on now? Is there anything that you're...
No, but I just have seen some of your videos, how you have your...
Okay, well, I'll do this basic one. So sometimes women are afraid of their vulva, and they might think, sometimes they think that there's something abnormal or not right about it because maybe it looks different than what they've seen, especially if people grew up watching porn. Mm-hmm. There's a very specific way that vulvas look, and it's not actually reality.
Okay.
So every vulva, I like to say, is like your footprint.
Okay.
Not footprint, thumbprint.
Thumbprint. But yeah, it has the...
Thumbprint, yeah.
Yes.
So it's unique. It's unique to you, and that's beautiful. And so I like to give a quick anatomy lesson on it, which is that this is the labia majora, or the outer labia.
Yeah.
That's the part that has hair, and some women choose to wax their hair off. This is the labia minora, or the inner labia. The inner labia can be tucked in, they can hang down, they can be different sizes on each side, they can be different colors, which I think is beautiful. It's like art, you know? And so starting to explore your vulva and knowing what it looks like and pouring love into it, just being like, oh my gosh, I love the way like my inner labia hang low, right? I love the way my inner labia are purple and pink, right? So whatever you want to say to it, you can, and you can give different names if you have like a name for your yoni or vulva, whatever you want to call it. And then this right here is called the clitoral hood. So the clitoral hood is made up of the labia minora, and it sits right over the clitoris. And then just under the clitoral hood is the clitoris. The glands
pushed it out.
The glands of the clitoris. Yeah, push it out. So I'll get to some exciting information about the glands of the clitoris. And then here's the introitus, or the opening of the vagina, and the urethra, where you pee from.
Where you pee. Yeah, it's all together.
Exactly. So a lot of women think, I'm supposed to have an orgasm during penetration, and if I don't, there's something wrong with me.
Oh.
So that is a total myth.
Yeah.
Okay? A lot of women do not have sex with penetration alone. And that is because the typical orgasm, and there are many different kinds, but the typical orgasm that women are thinking of is the clitoral orgasm. And so when the glands of the clitoris is stimulated, there can be this kind of contracting feeling where everything's contracting, and that is what people typically think of with the orgasm. Again, there are many different types. I don't know if we have time to go over all of them today, but that is going to be really dependent, if you have that during penetration alone, of how close the clitoris sits to the introitus. So this can sit lower down, or it can sit farther up. And so the lower down it is, the more likely...
Oh, that you could.
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, the more likely you'll have a clitoral orgasm with penetration alone. Otherwise, manual stimulation, vibrators, whatever you need, oral sex. Have fun with it. Always have fun.
Always have fun.
As long as there's consent and boundaries, sex is always good.
Yeah.
So, but what's really exciting about the clitoris is that there's this whole network here. So there's a body.
I love
there's
that
legs.
you just pulled
Yeah. Look at all this. And there are bulbs. And so this is really fun because you can actually stimulate the clitoris in other ways. So go home and have fun with this, whether you're in self-pleasure or partnered pleasure. So by playing with the inner labia, you can stimulate it. By playing with just around the introitus, you can stimulate the clitoris. And also by inserting into the vagina and stimulating here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
I mean, that really goes into it. I love... You need to just have those made.
Yes, it's so great. And so, like, the big takeaways from this is that you're not abnormal if you're not having an orgasm with penetration. Manual stimulation, knowing your body, knowing your likes and dislikes is all rooted for.
Yeah.
And and asking for what turns you on. Like, you get to know what your body likes. And just praising your yoni, your vulva, your pussy, whatever you call it, just totally praise it.
Just praise it.
Praise it, love it, tell how beautiful
yoni.
it is.
There were friends of mine. They were like, "Oh, there's a guy coming over for yoni massage." I was like,
"Yeah, people get yoni massages."
Yeah. I mean, I have never had one.
Yeah,
no.
You've had one from
but
your husband.
but not. Not with like a masseuse, but you just, I mean, I guess all the thing, you know?
Yes.
People, do you recommend people?
I believe that if you are called to that, and if there's a healing, modality and with intention, then absolutely. I mean, it's to each
their own. Yeah, you have no. So the thing about you, Rikki, or Dr. Rikki, you have no judgment.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, whatever you like.
Yeah, and that's the thing about sex. So a lot of times people will feel a lot of shame around sex.
Yes.
And they hide things. And the truth is, and I'm going to say this, and I could say it a million times, there's no right or wrong when it comes to
right
sex.
or wrong, good or bad, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No right or wrong, no good or bad. There's only your truth, right? And the more that you can accept that, accept what your turn-ons are, accept your fantasies, accept, what gets you off, then as long as there's consent and boundaries, it is always fair game.
Yeah.
And I encourage it.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of sex.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Amazing sex.
You are remarried.
Yes, I am remarried. Yeah, and that's another thing, because when I tapped into my sexual energy, which is so powerful, because like I said, I was so closed off.
Yeah.
And, before I left my marriage. And it almost, the sexual energy is the eroticism. It's eros. It's life force.
Yeah.
And that life force energy, when you tap into it, you can use it to manifest and bring anything and magnetize anything into your life.
Wow.
You just become alive again.
Yeah.
And so I went from this woman that was like miserable and tired and exhausted and wanted to give up on life, to a woman who feels alive and invigorated and happy and vibrant.
Yeah.
And my life looks nothing like it used to look. And a lot of people said, "Hey, Rikki, you're crazy." But guess what? Being tapped into my sexual energy and into my truth, into the acceptance of who I am, because that was so much of how I could fall deeply in love with myself and have this deep connection to my sexual energy, right? Was when I started accepting myself and being tapped into that. It doesn't mean that my life has to look traditional or what anybody else tells me it should look like. Mm-hmm. And I actually feel more vibrant and more alive than I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And people realize that. And people are like, "You're glowing. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm having lots of orgasms."
Yeah. Do you ever think you could have done that with your ex?
No.
It was so. You guys were just
there
not.
was a lot. So
because you were together a long time.
Yeah, he's a really wonderful man, and I felt okay. So I'm going to speak from the I. Okay, I felt not accepted and judged. Oh. And in that feeling, I chose, right? Like I was never a victim in this.
No.
In that feeling, I chose to play small. So I would hide from myself, right? That was part of the antidepressants. Like, how can I just like numb out and feel normal?
No, because you are big energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a big light. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it was
I was like, let me keep myself in a cage and be really small and stay out of the way and smile and be like this perfect little whatever, because I'm gonna people like always like this.
Yeah.
Hi, Shelton. Hi. What do you need? How can I help you? Oh yeah. Do you need, for that school event, did you need to volunteer? I can do it. I can always do everything. Okay, yeah. Or maybe Shelton, and then I'd walk away and I'd be like, now Shelton likes me. She's my friend. And you'd be like, I don't even know her.
Okay, so that's how that was.
That was like my old life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, now like everything is deeply intimate and rich and real in my life.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I tapped into my sexual energy, my acceptance of self, my deep intimacy with self, I was able to start really knowing my likes and my dislikes and how I wanted my life to look and be and how I wanted to be and feel in my life.
Yeah.
And in that, what I did was a massive shift and transformation. So not only did I shift my work to doing this, the work that I do now and dedicate my life to this, I also, as you said, got remarried, and it was on a whim. We were together for 3 weeks, and we eloped, and we've been together now since we got married April of 23.
Yes.
Maybe 5 days after we got married, we called up you and Alana. We said, Shelton, I want to sell my house, and we want to move to Topanga, to the mountains.
Yeah.
I always saw myself in the mountains as this mountain woman. And yet
you were like, no more. I felt like you were like, step for wife.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. No more.
You were like, can't.
Yeah. And people were like, are you crazy? You live 5 minutes from the school in this great area and your house is beautiful. And I was like, I'm more sure of anything than I've ever been.
Yeah. There was never a,
People were like, are you crazy? You married a man you don't know. And I'm like, I'm more sure of that than anything. And so
You guys, you were.
Yeah.
You were always,
in a deep, beautiful union that's deeply intimate and just like madly in love and real. You know, there was a lot of fantasy in the beginning, and we worked through that. So, but the fantasy is fun, but it's you got to get to the real stuff. And
well, Clark and I were together 7 months and then engaged.
Yeah.
Then pregnant 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then got married. I mean, it was pretty fast, too.
So you get to know each other because really the first 2 years of a relationship, they call it the honeymoon phase. And after that is when you typically start getting real. However, they're not taking into account people who have babies, right?
We immediately have a baby.
Yeah. So it's like you're going really deep, really fast.
Yeah.
And so Seamus and I got married, and 5 days later we called you up. And within a week, you and Alana sold our house. Above ask, by the way. Above ask. Offers kept coming in. And didn't even make it to market, by the way.
It was
off
like
market.
a while.
That's how amazing they are.
Yeah.
I got to give you a plug.
Love you. Thank you.
And you got us our house that, by the way, also wasn't on market. We're like, we want this house. Yeah. And you got it for us for exactly what we wanted to pay for it. Even less. Because we ended up taking it down.
Yeah.
It was way less than what...
Way less.
It turned out they were going to go to market like a few weeks later.
For a lot more.
And it was way less. We're talking way less. Yeah. So these people work miracles.
Oh, gosh. Love you. No. Thank you. But I mean, I think that this home really represents more your lifestyle, who you are.
And it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful home. And it allowed... So this is really interesting. Before I met Seamus, I had this vision. I kept having this vision.
You had it. You called Alana about it.
Before
you met him.
That I had this vision of having a farm, and I couldn't I was like, this is crazy. I don't know. The first thing about animals, there were horses, and all these animals. I had so many animals in my vision, and I was like, this is crazy. And so there would be this guided visualization that I learned from the Hoffman process, which is the program where I met Seamus. And in that guided visualization, so it was not before I met Seamus, but before we got together. Because I knew him for 5 months or whatever, kind of, before we got married.
Yeah.
But then when we, in this vision, I kept seeing like horses and birds and animals, and I was like, this is so weird. I don't know